Hi, this is Sam Michel, and the last essay was about nature does not play dice. And I mentioned the possibility of getting into a personal essay. I said if I feel like it, and I feel like it. So we're going to switch back to personal stuff, and hopefully from a lot better perspective than before. Just before the last physics, nature does not play dice. Hold on a second. I'm trying to recall. Oh, I said I was in a hate myself mode. I hate myself mainly because of stupidity. Being a stupid idiot rabbit. Being a stupid idiot rabbit. Okay, let's see. I think I can cut this. It's still recording. Okie dokie. I don't think I can give you the gist of my life because I've been investigating religions. There's a lot of things I've been looking into besides physics, not just physics, not just a little bit of mathematics, not just anthropology and not just naturalism. I've been studying myself much of my life from a third-person perspective, trying to, at least. Salvatore's got some interesting qualities. When I talk about him in the third person, please just understand that I'm trying to look at myself objectively, as objectively as I can. He's got some interesting qualities, but at the same time, he's not much different from the average person, I think. Many times in his life, he's trying to find himself, trying to figure out who he is and what he wants to do with his life. I guess we call that identity, sense of identity, and also at the same time trying to understand if there is such a thing as fate or destiny. That's a really good question, and philosophically, human beings have debated this for hundreds, if not thousands of years. A kind of fatalism versus what? Well, an ultimate form of what? Free will, right, I guess. Fatalism versus, like a kind of doom, and we could do this individually or do it on a civilization level or a species level. Let's not go there for right now, but let's try to just deal with Salvatore's life and those notions and how he's perceived physics from, in different framing. Some years ago, Salvatore was absolutely convinced that physics was under the control of the devil. Why I thought that? Well, it's because they were trying to come up with a self, like, for instance, what do you call it? A version of cosmology is called the multiverse. And in a sense, it's a self-generating, it doesn't need God. It doesn't need God. And I thought at that time that's how physics was going. I thought for sure that physics was going in that multiverse direction and that there would be more and more people believing in the multiverse rather than God. And I'm like, yeah, but it's satanic. It's satanic. So I wrote essays. This was a number of years ago. I wrote essays about that perspective, that I was sure, absolutely certain the devil was manipulating physics and controlling physics and using money and prestige and power to get people involved in satanic physics that was, trying to rip people away from the Lord, faith in the one true God. Whether you call it Allah or Jehovah or whatever. You can see how I'm putting it that, I'm kind of making fun of myself. The thing is, at that time, I was absolutely certain, absolutely freaking certain that science, especially physics, was being manipulated. When the Copenhagen School won, man, when the Copenhagen School won, that's when things all went downhill, according to Salvatore years ago. So things all went downhill, man. As soon as the Copenhagen School won, like, popular vote, man, all downhill, and not just downhill, satanically downhill, of course. The thing is, man, as far as I know, it was, the Copenhagen School was in reaction. Okay, now just hold that word for a minute, and try to remember back about the Spanish Inquisition and the Reformation period, in Europe. And then those people went to America for religious freedom. A lot of people look at the Reformation as a reaction toward what? Authoritarianism and, this notion of absolute authority of the church, and God in your life. And then who's God is, well, it depends on your religion. Who's God's representative on the planet? Well, it would be the Pope or the Spanish Inquisition. Take your pick. The thing is, man, as far as I know, the Copenhagen School was a kind of reaction, like a leftover reaction from those days, from the authoritarianism of the church, the early, this is like, what, 1600s, right? Something like that. Da Vinci's time. And sort of in the same vein, or the same way of thinking, this mechanistic universe. A lot of people, whether they're on the side of faith or not, it's like they envisioned the universe back in those days, back in Newton's time, like a clock. Like God made this clock, which is the universe, wound it up and let it go. That's how early physicists thought of the universe. In other words, this incredible sense of fatalism and determinism. Fatalism combined with determinism in this clockwork universe that's everything is just like gears and pulleys and shit, and all God had to do was wind it up. They used to call God the prime cause. They used to call God the prime cause, like someone who just set up all the dominoes and then tipped the one in front of them, and that's all they had to do. The prime cause. Clockwork universe. Wind it up and let it go. Well, as far as I know, the Copenhagen School in physics was dedicated to smashing that belief system, in the sense that, look, and not just about inherent indeterminism, not just about that, but non-locality. I mean, they had lots of, coinciding with non-locality is what that, what's the expression, the physics expression? Entanglement, right? So, well, the entanglement is like, it actually it provides a little bit of order in the chaos, but deep down, they truly believed in inherent indeterminacy, which I would just label that unknowable intrinsic phase. But they make it really profound and philosophical, and tie it to human free will and whatnot. Because, like I said, the Copenhagen, this is many decades ago, and the Copenhagen School was not just reacting against, say, Einstein and his statement that God does not play dice, or I guess he kind of did physics a disservice by doing that, man. Einstein did, even though he contributed one of the most wonderful things he could ever do, general relativity, to physics, the world of physics, that framework, but also what? The notion that God does not play dice. In other words, there's nothing truly random in the universe. If you understand, that, they may, collectively, they may be an incredibly sophisticated dynamical system, but, if you could somehow separate out all the spaghetti strands of interrelationships and interactions, like, say, between molecular systems or biological systems and molecular biochemical systems and the atomic systems, Einstein was a determinist. And that's why he said he firmly believed that God does not play dice. And I think what he was trying to say was what my more recent essay, just before this one, nature does not play dice. I think it would have been more acceptable had he phrased it that way, and had he been able to come up with an argument similar to mine. And it's not, my essay is not equivocating at all. It's just trying to understand things from a causal, not an acausal, but a causal deterministic perspective. And not necessarily local, but it's kind of implied, especially when you start talking about symmetrical decay processes. Well, like a forcible symmetrical decay process, like mutual annihilation. In a sense, that was never meant to happen, right? In a sense, it was never meant to happen. But physicists, in their curiosity, kind of it's not that they're violating the laws of physics and producing antimatter. It's just that we don't find it much. I mean, there's atmospheric antimatter, from processes from outer, cosmic rays hitting the upper atmosphere and producing antimatter in that way, and sometimes they come in as antimatter. And they have yet to determine the actual source of that stuff, if it's secondary process or otherwise. Anyways, I didn't turn on the recorder to talk about physics that as much as I wanted to talk about a little bit about the Copenhagen so-called school of thought or position of it used to be referred to as the up and coming forefront of quantum mechanics. The conventional perspective is the Copenhagen school, or Copenhagen formulation, which basically says, the implied concepts are inherent uncertainty, and not only inherent uncertainty, entanglement, which results in a non-local phenomenon, evidently. I mean, from their interpretation. But you got to remember that philosophically and religiously, spiritually, or however you want to frame it, the Copenhagen school was not just reacting against Newtonian determinism, but all that fatalistic attitude in the pop culture of the zeitgeist of the times. I mean, the so-called Copenhagen school was trying to, through physics, say, look, we're not just free. The particles in our bodies are free. We're not just free, man. We're not just totally, absolutely free. The particles in our bodies are free. They're inherently random. And in other words, like, you know, trying to take a philosophical stand implicitly, you know, through physics concepts against this hardcore, narrow-minded determinism and fatalism, most especially fatalism. So hold on a second, I gotta pause this. Pause or not, pause or not, pause or not, pause. Okay, we're back. All right. I didn't want to stay on that. I just wanted to explain sort of like philosophical background for the Copenhagen interpretation or stand in quantum mechanics, which pretty much dominated the field over the last, say, 100 years. In my life, it's not really the Copenhagen or, you know, I think intrinsically was a fatalist in a sense. I don't know if you could call me a closet fatalist or more than just a hardcore fatalist. I don't know. That's a toughie. That's a good question. Am I a hardcore fatalist or a closet fatalist? I typically use this expression, the thing is, right? Yeah, the thing is, you know. Every new stage of awareness for Salvatore in the recent past has brought these incredible, what do you call it, perspectives. Every new stage of awareness for Salvatore in the recent past has brought with those stages of awareness incredible perspectives. Not just about physics, but about everything. You know, typically it's about like accountability, personal responsibility. Like I said before, be accountable. When I say the following, I'm really speaking to myself, speaking with myself, right? Addressing Salvatore, me. Be accountable for yourself. Stop blaming other people or situations or venues or whatever. You can only blame yourself for your attitudes, for your perceptions, for your misperceptions, for your delusional framing. You can only blame yourself, Salvatore. And so a large part of these raising stages of awareness for me have been about accountability, personal accountability, and most notably me. Instead of blaming, like in the previous essays, well, I don't know, I can't even remember right now if I blamed Grace or Yui or both, or hopefully I blamed myself. And when the more recent essay, video essay about me hating myself for being so stupid, well, it's setting myself up. Setting myself for what? For disappointment. Unrealistic expectations, totally unrealistic hopes, and completely unrealistic expectations. And if I could, if I had the time to detail all the different, stages and steps from say about a year and a half ago to here, say March of 2021, March 2022. Yeah, so we're past 2 years now, I think. March 2021 would be 2022 and 2023, and we're already into so it's over 2 years. And I'm counting since Genbarokan when I was, I call it research station number 1. I don't know if that's a euphemism or what, but it was just a bamboo bamboo for the structure, well, and also for some non-cocoa timber for the structure, non-coconut wood. For the frame, and then for the walls, I think it was this buri palm, which is a very special kind of palm that doesn't produce coconuts. Does not. It's not coconut palm. It's garbage wood for the Filipinos. They just don't. They don't even use it when it's dead. It's just too porous. It's not even good for them for wood. I might use it, but not them. But the leaf is used for, various reasons, like this, like the walls of the hut. And then the roof was made of paud, which is it's not the same, I don't think it's the same leaf, but it's a different, in the very least, it's a different weave. In the very least, it's a different weave. It could be buri, but it might be a different kind of palm. In fact, it might be a cocoa palm. Anyways, I'm trying to remember now, because they taught me how to do roofing, but it's not exactly the paud style. It's a little bit different. Kind of weave the leaves together. It makes a very simple, like thatched roof. And there's a few modern items like fishing line and nails, but largely a very primitive hut that I called research station number 1. And actually, to overuse an expression, believe it or not, there's been more since then, right? Research station number 2, and number 3, and number 4. I think we stopped at 4 or 5. Anyways, and I still haven't gotten into deeply how I would like to about the different stages of awareness and sort of what allowed those to happen. And it's complicated, and it's I don't think I can do justice to the process, but I can kind of like cover the highlights. Salvatore, most of the time, was in such a delusional state. There's no words to describe how delusional he was. The only way that comes close is imagine the core of an onion being a delusion like something like Catholicism. And so apologies to any Catholics out there that might be listening, but I was raised Catholic, and at the core is Catholicism, along with my limited understanding, say around 8 years old, of Native American animism. In other words, where you believe like, what's the movie Pocahontas, where everything is alive. There's spirits in the water, spirits in streams, spirits in the air. And there's one of the main songs in Pocahontas was spirits in the wind or something like that. Anyways. That's a romanticized version, and Salvatore's life has been an attempt to romanticize Native American nativism and somehow synthesize that with Catholicism and whatnot, and Buddhism, I suppose. The thing is, that core, what I call a false belief system, now, layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of delusional beliefs layered on top of it like an onion composed of delusions or delusional framing or delusional belief systems, including psychic phenomena and spiritual, spiritism, believing that human beings have these native psychic gifts, of telepathy and precognition, like the Oracle and Delphi. But the thing is, Salvatore believed so much in these things, not just as superstitions, but firmly believed in them, that they were native gifts in our species, that you were born, you were born with, with the ability of being able to walk on water like Jesus did, or you were born with the powers of the Oracle at Delphi. You were just born with these incredible native gifts, right? Psychic powers. Just incredible psychic potential, right? The thing is, those ideas, that kind of that version of spirituality that Salvatore was moving toward also included things like what? Science fiction concepts like mentalism, mentalists or mentats, incredible psychic power, like coercive power, like the upcoming character of the mule, which I had read about, really early on, very early on at a young age. And so that concept was, as a teenager I read that. Which means that what? Planted the seed, man. Maybe I could be like the mule. I'm rolling my eyes, repeatedly. The thing is, man, I'm like the wrong person to, it's just like the idea, man, you don't want to give acid to Salvatore, man. Especially 2 hits, man. Do not give acid to Salvatore, and most especially do not give him 2 hits of acid, man. Because he'll be tripping forever, literally forever. Literally forever. And don't tell Salvatore, especially if he recently did acid, don't tell Salvatore about the character of the mule, because more than likely he's going to imagine that not only is he like an earthly version of the mule, always it's combining the mule with something else, like a modern day Moses, it's modern day, or psychic investigator combined with James Bond, and James Bond for God, it just never fucking ends. The delusional layers in that delusional onion that I was referring to before, it's about the only thing that I can come up with that sort of parallels. It's not just delusional framing and delusional belief system, it's delusional everything. Especially Salvatore's role. He wanted his life to be so special, He wanted his life to have meaning, right? And he wanted to do, more than anything, he wanted to do God's will. The thing is, how can you do the will of something that doesn't even exist? Well, you end up making up stuff, I guess. You make up stuff. And you imagine that you're doing God's will the whole time, I guess. I'm speaking to Salvatore. I'm not in chastising mode. I'm not in a chastising mode. I'm not in a reprimanding mode. I'm just sharing with potential others, including a possible therapist down the road, that hopefully, and this is the weird part of it that I was trying to allude to before, or trying to explain before, concurrent with all these delusions, concurrent with all these freaking delusions, something, and I can't say for sure. I cannot say for sure because it smacks of these delusional framings. What I'm about to say smacks of the previous delusional framings, which always involved aliens and shit and demons and I don't know, dark sides of people and and the Empress of the Universe, and Salvatore was her consort, and if you could see my expression right now. Anyways, so if everything else, if all the delusional framing and belief system and entrenchment in those delusional frames and constantly switching between delusional framings, whether it's sci-fi or fantasy, whether it's Elric of Melniboné or Virgil Sams of the Lensman series, whoever or whatever fictional fictional persona Salvatore is sometimes subconsciously emulating. So it's a lot of times was not part of his, many times, not a part of his conscious, volitional, not many times not a part of his conscious volition, but just how he would imagine things actually are, and how he wanted to be, what role he wanted to play in this incredible, wonderful, sometimes really dark fantasy of his that keeps changing continuously. Like heavenly journalist for the Heavenly Gazette, unpaid, of course. Maybe in heavenly credits, but which I supposedly gave to the Empress of the Universe, and then, it turns out that she's not even Empress of the Universe, and then I don't have any heavenly credits, accumulated anyway, so. Yeah, I was trying to figure out how I could spend these things, who would accept heavenly credits, man? It's not easy to find, an outlet that, like a Sam's Club, Just because that's my nickname doesn't mean that Sam's Club is going to give me like a authorization to use his we heard that Sam has got just billions and billions, just uncountable amount of heavenly credits, The thing is, are they any good at Sam's Club? We'd have to say no. But, we could just, say, hey, you can hang around a little bit, mingle and talk with people and tell them your story, and, and then hopefully you'll get bored and walk away. Sometimes, truly, sometimes you come up with some pretty cool, what do you call it, comedy routines. Sometimes, And hopefully we'll get to that at some point, but that's not the main objective, man. Hold on. Okay, I was just checking the timer on the recorder. Moab the Moabite. And they bite. They bite the bullet when they need to. So, that's a stupid joke that's neither here nor there. I used to say and pray. Please, God, help me make my life a work of art. I mean, never mind that it turned out to be. Never mind that it turned out to be. Never mind that it turned out to be like Escher, Picasso, multi-dimensional. Well, it's like somebody took a bunch of multicolored and pan-dimensional paintballs, and started shooting a regular canvas, man. And the pan-dimensional paintballs, well, they just kind of like warp the thing into multi-dimensional space, and then turning into like an Escher Mobius fabric, and it's like. So when you look at it from different angles, it's super 3D-ish. It's like all this weirdness and convolution and it's like a contortionist on steroids, man. And like all painted. Somebody was painting them, as they were practicing doing their contortionist stuff, and it's all like a pretzel with all these different colors, and it, from a certain angles it makes sense, but most of the time it makes absolutely no sense at all. Like my life. And I can't, as I said in a previous video essay, I have no one to blame but myself. No one to blame but myself. And that means like what? And also at the same time, no one to thank but myself. No one to blame but myself, and no one to thank but myself. Which is kind of weird, because these recent revelations they're quite beautiful and profound. And all jokes aside and stuff, it's just the stuff that has been thrust in my face, I guess through me, profound and beautiful stuff. And it's cliches, and I'm sure you've heard before. I'm sure you've heard this stuff before, like live each moment to its fullest. Live each moment, each day as if it's your last. Never forget the little things that could easily turn out to be big. Never forget the little things that could easily turn out to be big. Stop obsessing about the past and the future and just focus on the now, man. Focus on the now. The beauty of the now. As I mentioned before, if you're uncomfortable, if you're suffering, the only thing I can, from my past experiences and my past attitudes, all I could say from those past framings is pray for the suffering to end. The thing is, once you get through it, if you're anything like me, there's a lot more, there's a lot more to it than just suffering. There's a lot more to it than just suffering. Try to hold what I'm going to say in your heart. Try to hold what I'm about to say in your heart. And intuit the meaning. Feel it with your heart. Sorry, I lost it. I had it, but I had it, man. I swear I had it. Anyways, these. Well, I had just touched on the idea about details are important, right? Details can be extremely important. Don't assume otherwise. And it's not so much about expect the unexpected, which is a line from Kung Fu, the series Kung Fu with David Carradine. It's not so much about expect the unexpected. Not really about that, not right now. Perceive the unperceivable. Conceive the unconceivable. Perceive the unperceivable and conceive the unconceivable. It's a different way to express the same idea, right? I mean, he said, Kwai Chang, the character that David Carradine played in Kung Fu, the TV series, back in the 70s, one of his more famous quotes was, expect the unexpected. Which sounds impossible, but maybe not for a Shaolin priest, or someone who wants to be like a Shaolin priest, or is acting or pretending to be a Shaolin priest. But take that one step further, but in different words, perceive the unperceivable. Believe the unbelievable. Conceive the unconceivable. I could get all Buddhistic or want to be or pretend to be Buddhistic on myself and my wishful audience and say something like, be but not. I mean, come on. Be the target. Be the target. Like imagine somebody is shooting a bow and arrow. Don't be the arrow, be the target. All these fucking analogies. And so, what's the point? I don't know, man. Be the target? Why not just be the arrow or be the archer? Or why not just set the bow and arrow down and walk away, man, and just let somebody else do it? We spend too much time, remember, I'm speaking to myself. I spend too much time trying to be something else for somebody else. I spend way too much time in my life trying to be something else for somebody else instead of just myself. I spend way too much time in my life trying to be something else for somebody else rather than just being myself. One of my more common expressions is be yourself, be true to yourself. Be yourself, be true to yourself, be true to yourself. And remember who I'm talking with, myself. Salvatore, be yourself, be true to yourself. Salvatore, be true to yourself, be yourself. Stop trying to be anything else, just be yourself. And be happy with that. Be happy with that because there's no other way to be. Be happy with that because there's no other way to be, no other sustainable way to be. Be yourself and be happy with that because there's no other sustainable way to be.